Hello and welcome to Byjus Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with the practice questions for the day, we have an announcement. Byjus Exam Prep IAS would be launching the Target Prelims 2023. We have just 2 days to go and this session will start from Monday, that is on 24th of April from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Watch us live on our YouTube channel where we would cover all the important current affairs related topics that have been in use for the past 365 days so that you can unlock your glory to Labasna. Let's get started and look into the first question. Consider the following statements with respect to small saving schemes. Small saving instruments are managed by the central government to encourage citizens to save regularly, irrespective of their age. They not only provide returns but are usually higher than the bank fixed deposits. Interest rates are reviewed annually by the government for these schemes. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to small saving schemes. Let us try and understand what are these statements. When you look into the first statement, it says small saving instruments are managed by the central government. Yes, this statement is right. For what? To encourage citizens to save regularly irrespective of their age. So age does not matter. Any person who wishes to save, any person who wants to be economically empowered, a provision has been given by the central government under the small saving instruments. What are the example of the small saving instruments? We have the examples which include Provident Fund account, Sukanya Samriddhi scheme, Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, Post Office Savings Account, 5-year Post Office Recurring Deposit Account, National Savings Certificate. This can be broadly categorized into three formats. One is what is called as the postal deposit. Second is the savings certificate. Third happens to be the social security schemes. And these are the relevant examples as well. So once a person starts investing in the small savings scheme, he would be provided an interest. So the collections from all saving instruments will be ultimately credited to the National Small Savings Fund. So remember, when it comes to the third statement is wrong because interest rates are reviewed every quarter by the government for these schemes and it is not annually. So basically, the goal of all these small saving schemes is to ensure financial security to the downtrodden, to the poor, so that they are able to invest in small amounts so that they are provided financial security and they are able to empower themselves economically as well. So these small saving schemes mostly operate through the post offices, but there are also few schemes as well which can be opened and operated at selected banks. So the first and the second statements are right, but the third statement is wrong, primarily because it is not annually but quarterly. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to National Investigation Agency, which of the following statements are correct? The agency is empowered to deal with investigation of terror-related crimes across states without special permission from the states. Besides terrorism cases, it is now empowered to probe crimes involving human trafficking, counterfeit currency, sale of prohibited arms. A special court constituted under the National Investigation Agency Act shall be presided over by a judge to be appointed by the central government on the recommendations of the Chief Justice of India. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the National Investigation Agency, which is why we have taken this practice question. Let us try and understand what are these statements. When you look into the first statement, it reads, the agency is empowered to deal with investigation of terror related crimes across states without special permission from the states. Yes, this statement is right. What was the intent of this particular idea? When you look at 2008, what exactly happened? We had the terror attack on the financial hub of the country, which is Mumbai. So after this, the government realized realized that if permissions had to be taken from the state governments for all the terror related issues, it will obviously delay the process, and ultimately this could be a major problem for the country. So what did the government realize? The government realized that we require one agency which is able to investigate what is the root cause of this terror related crime. So in this particular backdrop, after the 2008 Mumbai blast took place, the government felt that the state's permission need not be taken if it is to do with the terror related investigation. So the first statement is right, that under the National Investigation Agency Act, we have the agency. They would be able to investigate and find out what exactly, how exactly, where exactly this happened without the permission of the state. And the state government will also have to cooperate with the National Investigation Agency. So the first statement is right. When you look into the second statement, besides terrorism cases, it is now empowerment to probe involving human trafficking, counterfeit currency, sale of prohibited arms. Yes, this statement is also right. So we had a major amendment in the year 2019. So some of the added things that they can also look into is cyber terrorism, offenses under the Explosive Substances Act, sale or manufacture of prohibited arms, counterfeit currencies, and at the same time human trafficking. All these aspects can be investigated by the National Investigation Agency. So the second statement is also right. But when it comes to the third statement is wrong. What is this special code? Under the National Investigation Agency Act of 2008, what we will have is a special code that will be established in each of the districts. So let's say, for example, if there is a case related to the National Investigation Agency, they are finding it out. So this has to be ensured that it is given a faster conviction. So what we have is the special coach. These special coach will be present in districts. So it will be on the recommendation of the Chief Justice of relevant High Court and not the Chief Justice of India. So basically you will have the central government on the recommendation of the Chief Justice of relevant High Court. They would appoint the judges and they would be helping in the procedural formats of the special coach established under the National Investigation Agency Act. So it is not the Chief Justice of India, but instead it is the Chief Justice of relevant High Court. Now let's look at some of the important facts. The NIA can investigate terror cases across the country without having to get permission. The agency investigates terror offences, waging war against the country, offences or nuclear facility. It came into force after the Parliament passed National Investigation Agency Act of 2008. It functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is headquartered in New Delhi, and the NIA maintains what is called as the NIA Most Wanted link. So remember, what we will have is a special court which will conduct trials of all these scheduled offences. And do note, the special court judges are appointed by the Government of India in consultation with the High Court Chief Justices of those areas. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to World Meteorological Organization? It is a specialized agency of the United Nations. Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, State of Climate Services Report, and Global Environmental Outlook Report are released by the World Meteorological Organization. Predicting the locust swarms and transport of various pollutants is the responsibility of the WMO. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to World Meteorological Organization, which is why we have taken this practice question. Let us try and understand what are these statements. When you look into the first statement, it is a specialized agency of the United Nations. Yes, this statement is right, but the second statement is factually right, factually wrong. When you consider the Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, yes, it is released by the World Meteorological Organization. State of Climate Services Report, yes, it is released by the World Meteorological Organization, but Global Environment Outlook Report is not released by the World Meteorological Organization. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section who releases this global environmental outlook. What are important facts about this report is what you have to put on the comment section. And the third statement is also right, that predicting the locust swarms and transport of various pollutants is the responsibility of the World Meteorological Organization. First and third statement are right. Second statement is wrong. So the answer to this would be C. Now let's look at some of the important facts. Established in 1950, World Meteorological Organization is an intergovernmental organization that originated from International Meteorological Organization. It had its roots from Vienna International Meteorological Congress of 1873. Yes, it is a specialized agency of UN in 1951. The United Nations Economic and Social Council is the parent organization of United Nations World Meteorological Organizations. So what are the functions of this organization? Basically, it will help in coordinating all the activities of national meteorological and hydrological services in the member countries. It provides a guarantee of publishing statistics and observation of meteorology and hydrology, and this report can be considered by the international organizations and governments as well. They can come up with their own policy reforms, and this World Meteorological organization also supports R&D in meteorology and hydrology, and basically if they are able to discover something, the same information is transmitted to another country so that they would also be able to implement this informational modules. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to periodic labor force survey, which of the following statements are correct? National Statistical Office launched PLFS in 2017. The objective of PLFS is to estimate employment and unemployment indicators in both usual status and CWS in both rural and urban areas manually. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to PLFS reports, which is why we have taken this practice question. When we look into periodic labor force survey, this happens to be a very important survey when it comes to the labor force. When it comes to driving the country on the economic front, who drive the country? It is the people, it is the human resource. So we have to know how many people are employed, how many people are not employed, so that the government is also able to make some investments. So in order to gauge the numbers and understand the economic front of the country, what we have is the periodic labor force survey. So this periodic labor force survey basically will identify how many people are employed, how many people are not employed, have the measures been successful, have they not been successful, what is that the government can do, what is that the government can bring a change. All these ideas will be introspected, and ultimately this survey will clearly point out the numbers when it comes to the employment and the unemployment. So what is the objective? The objective is to estimate key employment and unemployment indicators, and at the same time estimate employment and unemployment indicators in both usual as well as CWS in rural and urban areas. So both the statements given here are right. So when we speak about periodic labor force survey, it has some key indicators which includes labor force participation rate, which is defined as a percentage of persons in labor force in the population, worker population ratio, unemployment rate, activity status, and activity status current weekly status are all taken into picture and are released as part of this survey. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which one of the following laser types is used in a laser printer? Dye laser, gas laser, semiconductor laser, excimer laser. The answer to this is semiconductor laser. So remember, when it comes to the laser printer, what we have is a semiconductor diode laser, which is currently used in laser printers as the light source. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2008. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is about Assam-Arunachal Pradesh border dispute. Let us try and understand what is this with respect to the background, and we will also understand what is the present situation. When we look into the context, we have Assam Chief Minister and his Arunachal Pradesh counterpart who signed a memorandum of understanding over a long-standing border dispute between the two states. So we've had disputes between the state of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh when it comes to the borders. Let us try and can understand what is the background. When we look into the background, we have Assam. Assam happens to be a state which was originally a huge state, and after independence what we had was couple of states that were taken off from Assam and they became new states. For example, we have Meghalaya, we have Arunachal Pradesh, and we also have couple of other northeastern states as well. So originally they were all part of Assam, but over a period of time after we became independent, some parts were taken out of Assam and ultimately new northeastern states were created. After the new northeastern states were created, what we have is disputes between Assam and the newly created northeastern states. For example, we have the Assam and Arunachal Pradesh agreement right now to resolve some of the disputes between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Similarly, there have been issues between Assam and Nagaland. Similarly, there have been issues between Assam and Meghalaya as well. So all those states that were created from Assam, they have border disputes between Assam and the newly created states of northeastern states. So in this particular backdrop, what we will be focusing is with respect to Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh and Assam have disputes at about 1200 points along the 804-kilometer boundary. The disputes cropped in the 1970s and intensified in the 1990s with frequent flare-ups along the border. However, the issue dates back to 1973 when the British government introduced the inner line regulation vaguely separating the plains from the frontier hills that were later designated as the Northeast Frontier Tracts in 1915. This area became the Northeast Frontier Agency in 1954. 3 years after a notification based on 1951 report saw 3,648 square kilometer of plain area of Balipara and Sadia foothills being transferred to Dharang and Lakhimpur districts of Assam. So this has a colonial imprint as well. Why interstate dispute remain unresolved? Let's say, for example, if we take the example of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, what do we have? We have the indigenous communities. We also have the tribal populations as well. Whenever you're drawing a line, there are cultural boundaries, there are social boundaries, and people have been living in all these areas as well. So when you consider only few people for defining the borders, then the large number of people, the tribal heartland people, have not been taken into consideration. So when you omit a certain section of the people from these border issues, ultimately it means it is bound to reoccur. Since the indigenous communities were not part of it, it is continued to be unresolved in this particular case. Added to it, we also have physical boundaries as well, the complexity of the terrain as well. Let's say, for example, rivers, hills, forest areas, they straddle between two states. So how do you go about marking a border when it comes to these territories? And in some, we would not be able to mark them physically as well. That is why what we have is continuation of border disputes between Assam and many other states in the northeastern part. Currently, in order to resolve this dispute between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, what they have now entered is called as the Memorandum of Understanding. So the dispute over 37 of these 123 villages has been resolved on July 15, 2022 itself with the signing of Namsai Declaration. So remember, the Namsai Declaration is to do with border dispute between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Through this MOU, the dispute over 34 villages has been amicably resolved. One village in Arunachal Pradesh as per the notified boundary, 10 villages in Assam as per the notified boundary will remain with Assam, 60 villages in Assam as per the notified boundary will be included in Arunachal Pradesh. Added to it, another 3 villages are located partially within the Indian Air Force bombing area in Dulang. The MOU states that matter regarding these villages will be taken up by Arunachal Pradesh with the Government of India and the Indian Air Force. So for all those areas where we have had the dispute, they have come up with a memorandum of understanding to settle all these disputes amicably, and for the ones which are not yet settled, they will be settled in the near future as well. So the village boundaries of 49 of the remaining villages are unresolved, and the MOU states that in these regional committees will finalize the boundaries. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.